you'll see that this vehicle is now being stopped. Okay, this vehicle is actually being beaten up. There were a number of people that were killed in Phoenix. A vehicle that is parked, or that was stopped in the middle of the intersection. These are the types of scenes that we've been seeing across Durban. We saw this in Phoenix yesterday. Can you believe that we are having a conversation like this? 2021 South Africa. I mean, at that point, it's not even called the unrest, right? It's not even the riots or anything. I mean, this is just like protests that are popping up everywhere, something that, I mean, we do all the time. Mm-hmm. So...
Plus, it felt like a normal day, to be honest. Like,
busy, but a normal day. And this was in the back, I think probably about 2 days after the president was, the former president, was sent to prison. So you're talking about the Friday, that's when one of the big turning points happened, because we felt the protests move up a notch because they blocked off a national road, the N2. That was in the north part of KZN.
That's the day of the parade, right?
The day that the police minister was having a parade in Empangeni. And even there, they used trucks and they blocked off the road getting to that parade. But then on the way back, that's when these guys that were protesting, and they were so open about it, they blocked off the road, just set fire to tires and had sand, and what else did they?
I never even thought I'd ever see the N2 looking like that. Like a fire in the middle of the N2,
Just burning a fire with that flag.
What do you remember most about that day?
I remember the mood there on that day. I think I must stress this point. My takeaway was that it wasn't violent. It wasn't aggressive.
They were calm. They felt like they had it under control, but not
and almost
excited
control. To talk about what they were doing, committing a crime in the middle of the road, but really excited. So we thought, well, that was that. And then that was just about the beginning, the Friday, moving into that weekend where things really changed.
And they had the message, to be honest, The fact that you're saying they were excited because the fact that they had like this ANC flag there in the middle of the fire.
The one with Zuma's face.
Yes. So for us, I don't think we actually realized what was coming. But that already was like a signaling point where we should have seen, like, okay, this is a message they're sending to the authorities.
And the police backing away. Because the single police van coming through, looking at it and going, well, presumably, can't do anything here, makes a U-turn. It was a defining moment because it then spoke to what we were going to see when the police they were overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They were stretched. Even the Human Rights Commission said that as well, that they were just really, it was too much.
Because you had these pockets, right? Pockets of fighting. Talk to us about how that sort of escalated and when.
Yeah, probably about the Sunday it escalated.
Yeah, because the weekend, that's when we actually, the teams actually got spread out because we were getting messages from different parts of the province. So it was like, okay, let's deploy different teams,
we're moving
different
around.
Places. Because on Sunday, we were in the north.
Yeah, somewhere on Empangeni. The day
that's when it peaked. That Sunday.
That was when our van was stoned, and there was a mob that was. I think they were trying to chase. They were actually targeting the police.
I think they thought we were part of the police because we were in a bakkie.
Just came around a corner, and you realize, geez, there's a mob here. So got stoned, and they hit the bakkie, and we got away. But that really was on the back of Ramaphosa speaking. I assume that he thought that he was going to kind of quell the tensions. But it had the opposite effect, at least for the people that we saw.
Yeah, and at the time we didn't even know that what was happening, that the speech had caused this. Remember, we were on the road, we were working Sunday night.
Yeah, this is the Sunday night.
Yeah, we only figured it out when we started like talking to people. Then people were like, no, actually, after he said what he said, we just went out of our homes and we started
getting
like,
petrol
stations.
And getting tires, dragging tires. It seems like there's always tires available. I don't know where they come from. It's probably like some business or something, but...
You felt that was when it tipped?
Yeah.
Why would that have been the tipping point? Like you said some stuff.
I think he angered certain people, and it came down to the interpretation.
Yeah.
How they read what he was saying, and some of them maybe
a lot of people on the ground were saying that they felt like it was tribalist, and then that just made them. I don't even think people allowed him to actually finish his speech.
Yeah.
you might find
That's
that
true,
maybe
'cause they
at
were
the end of
mobilizing.
it, he might have concluded something, but they were just they're like,
Yeah,
we're
like
not hearing
midway,
any of this,
they
we're
were just
going
getting
out.
the stuff. And that's when it happened. And that night, the looting started that night.
Yeah, yeah.
We were not in Durban
The
yet.
videos we saw
Yeah.
was from that night. That's when we started
It was
seeing like
crazy.
bits of fires. You know, like you see a place that you know, and you're like, gosh, it's, we were.
We were in the somewhere near Mpangeni, eh?
I think we were in Pangeni side, but we were
So
in the
seeing all of this stuff unfolding in Durban, and then realizing also a little bit of FOMO. So yes, we're getting stoned and attacked here, but it seems like this is chaos that broke out in Durban. So
But it also made sense to what was happening even in that area because we didn't understand why people were on the streets, why they tried to stone us, all of that, you know. But after we heard about the speech, then we realized, oh, okay, looks like this is happening everywhere.
But what's crazy about
somehow
it?
people just retaliate.
I mean, the thing that I couldn't make sense of then, so I guess it still doesn't make sense why you would want to loot to protest. I still don't understand that. But that for me was a bit of a confusing thing. I don't think we actually spoke about it, but I didn't get like why people were saying, yes, we're angry about this, so let's go and steal a couple
I
of
think it was
TVs.
opportunity, to be honest. You know, a lot of people just said, we're hungry. You know, they'd use that excuse. Like,
And some were not
you know
hungry.
what?
They were rocking up in Mercedes Benzes and
You know,
BMWs, right?
so there's an opportunity
So-
for people to actually commit crime.
So this became evident to you on the Monday morning. Were you starting to see the looting?
Yeah, so this was happening now overnight, and we made the decision. We discussed with the team, and we said, "Listen, we need to support the teams that are in Durban because that seems to be where this is the center of it now." And then we came back, but that looting continued over Sunday night into Monday. Even on our way back, stopped at a mall to do a live crossing.
Actually, that whole trip.
Yeah, the whole trip.
to Durban, we were
it was
doing
insane.
crossings because it was just crazy.
Yeah.
Like we literally documented the whole trip.
Yeah.
Like going back to Durban, but we didn't know what we were gonna find in Durban
Yeah.
because Durban was a movie.
And then you go into one of the hottest areas, which is Phoenix, right? You get
Yeah, we went in there. Just,
You got a call.
I got a call.
The
We
guy
just got
called you and
back.
said like there's some
There's
people
bodies.
dead. Yeah.
At this time now, we're also thinking, but is this related to the
We
actual?
didn't even put it together that it's related
Yeah.
to what was happening.
So
we thought we were just
protest,
responding
looting,
to
all of
someone
that
who
happening.
died, you
Yeah,
know?
protests, all of that happening. And then on the other hand, people dead. So we go, wow, that's like that's a lot of people that are dead. So we need to go and actually find out what happened. It's not normal for 4 or 5 bodies. I think the guy said to me, there are about 4 or 5 bodies outside my house. I mean, that's not a normal call because you'd often hear police shooting or maybe it was a crime being committed or whatever. So curious, tired from all of this. I mean, we decided to go out there.
I mean, you hardly slept that
Jeez,
Sunday.
yeah. And then we get in there and we see this community as we're entering Phoenix now. I can still see it, you know, on the Phoenix highway
When we drove.
as you go up.
Yeah, because when we drove into Phoenix, they were, and I remember that the car was trending after, you know, when we.
That Avanza. There was an
Avanza, yeah.
Avanza, Toyota Avanza, just on fire. Like,
Yeah,
in the
when we
center.
saw all the clips, we were like, gosh, that's the Avanza we found yesterday. But when we got there, it was before it was burnt.
Yeah.
It was just like a mob had
Yeah.
stopped the car. So we were like, okay, well, let's start here. Something
And they
is
seemed
happening
happy.
here.
They seemed like, wow, the media is here. You're going to cover this story, and
They had that finally thing.
we
like,
thought
finally
we were
here,
being welcomed
you
with
know?
open arms, and that wasn't the case. So we get in there and ready, journal mode, camera operator mode, ready to do our live crossing, just oblivious, maybe a little stupid, not really taking all of it in. You know, they say you need to have situational awareness, and I mean, you can have it to a certain extent, but it was a bit overwhelming. So we got in there and trying to do this.
A man with a banger came and said, hell no.
Yeah, he's like, get
Get
out.
you guys out of here, you know? And it
I'm not registering this. I'm like, studio's in my ear. We need to cross.
the panga had blood.
Yes.
You know, we looked at it like,
That guy looked like he had literally just chopped someone. I mean, if I looked at him, he had this like a deranged look in his.
yeah, he looked possessed.
He was leading this pack. He had a few henchmen, if you will, behind him.
And then
You know?
there's bodies around you there.
No, there's not even body. It's the
This
car.
is the burning car
We
now.
stopped because we were wondering why these people are trying to mob this car. You know, because and also generally when you drive on that road, you don't find like 100 people standing on
Nah,
the because
it's
it's
not
you know, it's
normal.
a bit of a highway that one.
But side note,
you know.
some of these guys, they were looting the people. So
Well, yeah, because
The
they
group that
opened
was
the
there.
cars, the
yeah,
Avanza.
so look at how crazy this is. some people there were saying to us, no, we want to stop looters and we don't want looters to come through our area. But then when they get there, then you loot the looters. You take that stuff, the stuff that you said you are so against and you don't want crime, but that's why we're doing this. You know, we were like vigilantes and but let's just take those take those Puma sneakers and whatever
Take the
else.
microwave.
Yeah, put that away. But no, you can't be here. Get out of here.
We're still going to the dead bodies.
Yeah.
Remember the initial call was
Yes,
there's dead
yes.
bodies in there. So we're going to the initial
We haven't found that
story,
yet.
you know?
So we're still making our way. This is probably a few kilometers.
Yeah, that's
away.
not too far from.
And at that point, when the guy essentially told us to leave, get out with the panga and all of that, that was when we had to make a very crucial decision. So we had to decide, do we leave and do we...
Yeah, because he actually said, get out of Phoenix.
Yeah.
You know, we need to go into Phoenix to find our story.
Yeah.
But someone right at the entry point is saying, get out.
Yeah.
You know?
But you know, again, we had to still make sense of it because when we eventually got to the bodies, which is up the road, and you see these bodies, they're lying there on the road. I think one of the saddest moments, and I know that hit you hard,
When we found the...
when the two guys, they were brothers, eh?
Yeah, no, that
But we didn't know it at the time.
For me, I think that's when I had like a feeling something was wrong, because everywhere we drove, because this was the other interesting thing, like every time we'd get to like a mob, like a group of people, they'd come storming the car, and then when they get to the car, we open the windows, they check, there's Deson, there's myself, and then they didn't know how to react now because now they're finding this like mixed race in the car. Then they'd let us through, and then at some point we found two guys were lying on the floor. The one is still moving, and a car was burning. So, and then I said to Deson, this is so weird because I'm looking at that car.
It's a Proton.
And the car is a Proton. You know, who takes a Proton and goes and robs somebody? Or, you know, it's
just not normal.
not the type of car you think someone would commit a crime.
And you should never judge
you
a
know?
book by its cover, but they didn't look like they were committing any crime. And we found out later they were looking for fuel.
And just to go back to, you know, you saying that story that broke me. A few days later, one of our crews went to this family and they interviewed the people. They lost, you know, the two sons, etc. They come back to the office. I'm watching the footage, you know, like, well, Suzanne was editing. And I'm hearing the description of what the people were wearing. It was the same guys that we saw. And, you know, then I was like, I guess the feeling when I said to Deson something doesn't feel right, that feeling was right because we drove past innocent people who've died looking for fuel.
And we couldn't do anything either.
You know? And it's normal for someone who lives in Guamashu to drive into Phoenix to look for something.
It's neighboring townships.
You know, I'm just thinking now that I remember I wanted to flag that something was happening in Phoenix.
Yeah.
You know, like, because we spoke about it and it was like, no, something's not right. You know, but at the same time, we had to be responsible because now we didn't want to incite like a racial thing. There was a guy who stopped us and said to Deson, like, hey, but you can't be here with him. And he pointed at me, you know, and Deson was like, what do you mean? It's like, nobody's a ducky. We don't want duckies here, you know.
And then that cut me, man.
Yeah, I remember you shouted at the guy.
I mean, how is it that someone there that is standing there in this day and age, I mean, 2021, I mean, we were so far from the dark days of apartheid, and if you have someone standing here in broad daylight, literally a law unto himself, and saying, yeah, but you can't be with you because you look different, and you can go in, but you can't go in, and you're a darkie and you're this.
Yeah, that is very telling. That is very telling. That you know, like I always joke to him and I say, like, you know what, you saved my life. Like, Deson actually saved my life, because I think if I was working with any other colleague, you know, like I was working, let's say, with Tuba, Mawanda, whoever, I don't think we would have made it out of Phoenix, you know. But I think because Deson was in the car, then it was just like, okay, you guys can go through.
And the frustrating part about this, and I have to talk about it. It's something it's weighed so heavy on me. It almost ended my career in 2021, and you know, I don't think it'll ever be something that I'll shake, because I carry it with me since that time. Not just that really horrible, painful experience of racism. And I mean, Kanisha's a brother to me. We literally eat together, and you know, we've traveled together and all of that, and literally, like, a brother to me, and that's how it is, and I believe that's how you produce your best work. So it broke me to know that there were people in front of us, that people that looked like me, that were doing this to someone that I regard as a brother. And although I can't take responsibility for those things, but I felt embarrassed. I felt angry. I felt embarrassed. I felt a lot of things. And in doing that, in reacting and in speaking out about it, I actually then, there were people that felt that they could capitalize on it. And there was a whole propaganda campaign against myself and eNCA at the time, saying that we were inciting violence in Phoenix because of the use of the term racial tensions.
It's like you couldn't do your job.
But it was our reality. It was our experience at the time. It wasn't something that we were hearing. It wasn't a video that we got. It was what we saw, and we report on the truth, and that is what I saw. Even if it's someone like myself that is doing something that's wrong, I need to report that. And
wrong is wrong.
And wrong is wrong. And it's not about being a journalist even. It's just about being a human. I got ostracized by that community. So it became a case of you're a traitor and this is what you've done and you are now trying to incite violence between blacks and Indians. That was the kind of social media campaign. And then that made it very difficult because I started getting threats. My family was threatened. People were sharing sensitive information about where I live. I could see messages circulating, and most of all,
your phone was wild.
It was crazy.
It was just attack
after attack, and I would show him when we'd be traveling together, and I'd be like, "Bro, look at this," and he would just look at it, and like we were like, he was such a pillar during that time for me because he stood by me with this whole thing of the knowing that many people in what I consider my own community came after me. And we were able to fortunately navigate that and get out because we didn't back down and we were given the option. You probably would have been well within your rights to never set foot in Phoenix again.
Yeah. I think that the turning point was when we got an invite. Like someone reached out to you and said they're not happy about what they're hearing and what they're seeing, and this is not a true representation of the Phoenix community. So they invited us and said, listen, come through, spend a day with us, and we'll show you another side, and you actually see that it's not everyone who's for what happened and what's currently happening. So then we honored that invite, and I remember like,
the food is good.
I
mean, since we didn't have bread, it was really nice to have something good to eat.
I remember almost everyone was worried that we were going to go there. They were like, are you sure you want to go there? Like my own manager was calling, like, do you really want to go there? But we were like, no, let's do this, and show people the other side. If there is another side, then
we show them both sides.
Yeah,
and I think it's what you're talking about, and that's the importance of true journalism. I think we set social media on fire during that time because people sitting in their houses locked in these human barricades that are outside and around their neighborhoods thinking, oh, it's bad out here, and all of these things. But we go up, we go live, and now you realize, oh, we are here, but look at here and here and here and all of these other places around. It's insane. And one of the people that was watching was a businessman from Phoenix. And I found out later that, in fact, I was doing an interview with him recently, and he said to me, do you know that's how I found out my business was burning? Because I saw your coverage, and I looked again, and I said, that's my place. And I called a friend. That's what he was telling me. Called a friend, tried to get there. He couldn't get there. He had to stand back and watch his business burn, like so many other businesses that just were razed to the ground.
So there's dead bodies, there's businesses. Is there any justice? Has there been any justice? Is there going to be justice? What is the point?
Justice is such a relative term. If 350 people die, and there's justice for 349 of those people, you can't call it justice because there'll always be a family that is missing a son or missing a breadwinner.
You can never bring them back.
You can't bring them back. And you can't, and they'll always be gone. So that's why I say it's relative, because you go and ask that person and they'll say justice hasn't been served, even though the bulk of it has. And we are far from that. I mean, there's definitely no justice for the bulk of the 350 people that died, the businesses that went down, some didn't bounce back. There are people that are still unemployed today. We're still recovering as a province, and we're so scared. We are afraid. We're always on tenterhooks, just wondering what is going to push some bunch of lunatics over the edge to do this again. What is it going to take?
And I think that the scariest thing is that people tasted that power that they had at the time.
And they tasted 50-inch TVs and
You know, and that's scary because what if people would suddenly be like, "Oh, we can do this," because they saw that they can overpower the government, they can overpower the police.
yeah.
So that for me always scares me because even now with like the current situation, you know, with Mkwanazi, if you check on social media, comments are like, "Yeah, lockdown level none is coming," you know, and that's scary to think that some people still think they can do what they did back then.
But I'm glad that on a probably a deeper level, because we engage with a lot of people. We're in like so many different communities all around Durban and the country, the province, and all of that. And one of the nice things about it is that you get to gauge the feelings, and we take it all in, and then you make sense of it. And I've noticed, maybe your experience is different, but like I've picked up that there is also a bit of fear.
Yeah.
Because people are afraid of burning down the mall that's just over there. Yes, we're angry. Let's go and burn down that mall. Let's loot that mall. In 2 weeks from now, you're not going to be able to buy bread there.
Or not have a job.
Or you're not going to have a
You know,
job.
because a lot of people we speak to, they say like, "I don't think I'd ever want this thing to ever happen again because,
Yeah.
you know, I learned the hard way. I used to work at a shop that was inside the mall. Now I don't work anymore."
So, I was on air and I said, I think I was talking to Annika Larson. She was the anchor. And I said, I left home this morning and didn't really have much to eat because couldn't even have some toast. And someone heard that. And they decided when we were taking our next flight to pack a little grocery bag with bread and milk. And what else did he put in there? Like a few
There's like
snacks or
proper-
something.
yeah, there's like a
I don't know how he got
grocery-
it.
It was basically stuff we couldn't find
Like,
at
I
the
don't know
time.
how he got it, but he got it, and he got it to us, and it was the best brown bread I tasted in my whole life.
When he came
I'll
to
tell you that
Virginia.
much.
If you think of what Trivi did with the bread, it like, makes you, it reminds you of what South Africa is about.
Yeah.
And when
Ubuntu.
people talk about Ubuntu, that's what really being a South African
Yeah.
is, And I think that's what actually helped even like build the communities back.
It did. Because, you're talking about Ubuntu, right? And Phoenix, unfortunately, got really bad rap during that time because of a group of people that decided to be thugs and decided to carry out racial murders. But then what was so heartwarming was that one of the ladies, I think she was a nurse or something, she was traveling through and they set, these gangsters set her car alight, and threw out the car and set it alight. And a few days later, a few weeks later, we went back to a church because this church had raised money to buy a car for this woman. She was completely blown away. And for reference, it was an Indian-led church that had then done this. And they said that, look, we had nothing to do with what happened there, but as part of the reconciliatory efforts, we got you this car. And I think that was also maybe slightly maybe helpful to mend those relations.
To show what because that story, like I just remember I've told the story before, but it's like because of the stuff we cover, you almost just you get used to just seeing things and you just get desensitized. But I remember that when Ash was telling her story, it was so real that I actually started crying behind the lens. We were live. And I remember the people standing next to me looking at me like, because they're just seeing tears go down my face. But I can't obviously go, woo-hoo, So it was so beautiful when they did that because in a sense it healed me inside. Because I was like, she's getting healed, she's getting her car back. And I'm also, feeling like, oh, well, there's hope,
My takeaway. So we've learned, and we've learned that there's no good that can come of it. I mean, those big screen TVs that you take out of a mall or a shopping center, it is not going to help you get a job. It's not going to do any good for the country. And as I said earlier, I get a sense that people have also learned this, that it's important that we protest. We live in a democracy and we're not happy with everything. But like for me, it's how we protest. And that I think that's my takeaway, that we'll always be there. We'll be covering these stories and we'll be telling these stories. But it's a question of how do we put those grievances forward. I mean, I was saying today, I saw that advert on TV where it said that some guy now doesn't have a job because the mall burned down. So it's a sense of responsibility. We'll always be angry about issues, but let's do it in the right way. That's my takeaway. That's my lesson that's learned, or knowledge that I would like to impart on anyone.
And it's nice that you touch on responsibility, because that's the one thing I think we always get wrong as South Africans. We just know that we have these rights.
Yeah, we want to blame
we
everyone
have a right
else.
to protest,
Yeah.
but we always forget the responsibility side. Because yes, the law says you have the right to protest, but you have to be responsible in doing that. So like I remember earlier I joked about that never again the thing, by Nelson
Yeah.
Mandela, but it must never ever happen again. Like we should never see that thing. Probably took us back like 20 years.
Yeah.
Or it set us back for about 20 years, because instead of the economy growing at the time, now we're fixing a mall that was already existing.
Yeah.
Now we're fixing a road. We're
Reinventing
fixing a
the wheel.
school, So literally it's like time stood still and the rest of the world continued on. And then now we sit here and we talk about unemployment and what have you, but we forget to look at how we've played a part in causing those problems.